Hey everyone, this is Jonathan McCormack. I'm an attachment specialist here in New York, and you can find me over at attachmenthealinghelp.com. I want to talk about avoidance, avoidant attachment, sometimes called dismissive avoidant attachment. And there's a million videos on this, but I have to say they're fairly superficial. They go into it a little bit. If you have this avoidant attachment, you want a relationship, you get into one. As soon as you have one, you shut down and you want out. That is how it is. What's it caused by? Well, in childhood emotional neglect. As a child, you reach out, you don't get a response, you reach out again, no response, and eventually you stop reaching out because your needs aren't going to be met. That's painful. And so you dismiss all your needs. You disappear. You don't even have any needs. Become very self-sufficient, very isolating. And when they grow up, an avoidant has a dilemma. If I let myself get close to others, they're going to devour me. I'm going to be enmeshed in them. They're going to drain me, I need my own time. But if I isolate myself, I'll slip into despair. And so you have this incredible drive, one drive to be loved, the other drive to survive. And they're against each other. And these are the two primal drives, so it can be very unbearable. So I started looking at extreme avoidance that were almost on the schizoid level. And indeed, there are some people who believe schizoids are simply polarized avoidant attachment, So listen to this quote, though. This is by, I won't even name him, but I'm reading this guy, and he's talking about these avoidance. He goes, my avoidant patients, they go through motions of daily living, but superficially, like robots, without any zest or enthusiasm. They do not experience the joy or pain of living because a crucial part of their feelings has been radically repressed and isolated from their central personality. They have split off the emotional hunger for love, care, and contact. And the heart of the personality, there's a core of emptiness. The hunger for love, first felt as vital, fleeting need becomes a constant state of mind until it remains unmet. The state of mind is split from the remaining personality. Gradually its needs are extinguished. The active emptiness of hunger becomes frozen, static, lifeless emptiness. Thus, the patient experiences a death in life and pervasive compulsive hunger, an empty core. And this is how he ends it. They go through life as the living dead, hungering for things as the vampire thirsts for blood. I mean, geez, my Lord, boy, avoidance kind of get a pretty bad rap, but the way this guy's talking, and yet extreme avoidance indeed are like that. There's a danger of loving. Fairbrain goes into some of this, but that's indeed the fundamental belief that it's the avoidance love that will destroy the relationship, not his hate. Because he has needs. His needs will destroy the other person. These are extreme avoidance, okay? It's on a spectrum, but these are extremes, my needs will exhaust you, Yeah. So, it's the classic ambivalent position, one's needs are unacceptable. And so there's this is what he's talking about, an extreme avoidant, this other guy. He says, he felt he was not really alive, and that anyway he was of no value and had hardly the right to the pretension of having life. He imagined himself to be outside it all, yet he cherished for a while one shred of hope. Women might still have the secret. If he could somehow be loved by a woman, then he felt he might be able to overcome his sense of worthlessness. But obviously, it's blocked for this guy. He goes on because this guy's like, well, but that won't happen, so I'm worthless. And indeed, that is often how it is for avoidant. The only way I can live is if another person loves me, confirms that I am lovable, that I'm a human, that my needs are important and can be met. So I knew a guy, very avoidant. He used to look at other people and think, the living, the people have wives and good jobs and friendships, not like me. There's nothing for me. Since his needs weren't met as a kid, the whole world was like that. The world had nothing for him. And in fact, 40 years old, more or less a virgin, he finally got a girl. And after years of trying, desperate, trying to make money, trying to get himself in shape, finally does it. Beautiful girl. He gets close. His dream. And just shuts down. He said it was like kissing a wall or cardboard. He couldn't feel her. Because his defenses would kick in. He'd get close, like, oh, intimacy, and then he'd shut down. He didn't work on his attachment values, So there's alternatives, The avoidant can't be dependent, so what are you going to do? Well, he can't get love. Drugs are good, It's not ideal. Alcohol, You could become superior, a lot of avoidants that cultivate that superiority, some insane self-sufficiency, perfectionism. You can do all that stuff. So this other quote is good. It goes, in order to ensure his survival, the extreme avoidant is willing to put off gratification, give up the needs of the mind and body in order to need what he achieves. His self-sacrifice and willingness to go without happiness, comfort, soothing, or respite makes this process possible. He is, above all, a survivalist. And indeed, if you talk to some extreme avoidants, they don't experience pleasure, soothing, nor do they expect to. No one can give them those things, or happiness. They survive. And because of this, they try to disappear. They even kind of deny their body. So I do the ideal parent figure protocol for attachment problems. It's very somatic. You imagine the ideal parents, but you imagine, how does it feel? How does it feel? You're around them, notice them touch, and how does that feel in your body? Because extreme avoidance is so disassociated from his body, he almost wants to be nobody, self-contained, self-reliant. That's just how it is, So what do you do for this sort of thing? Well, first of all, you really need to actually see a specialist, you do. But, you can identify your needs and feelings, learn to assert your needs, Believe it or not, the avoidance not touching anger and rage. One of the reasons they can't in a relationship. Oh, sorry about the interruption. My many bodyguards should have stopped him. But I was saying the avoidant is not in touch with his anger because as a child, he couldn't be angry. He couldn't have any needs. So all that anger is inside. That's one of the reasons they say an avoidant, especially if it's towards the schizoid end, is anti-libidinal. In other words, the energy that goes towards joy, pleasure, and life, he turns back on himself because the world will not meet that. So all his needs are encapsulated. One of the big problems is that it's terrifying to think that they might be met because think about it. It's years, decades of this loneliness, being enclosed, and to open up that, people who are loners are the neediest people on the planet because they feel they're so needy. They could never put that on another person. Another person would not survive it. That's how needy they are. It's the opposite of what a lot of people believe. Not all of them, but a big portion of them. So saying a bunch of things you can do about it. One of the things is to open up to that primal rage and terror that will come with the interpersonal relationships. For the avoidant, he has to realize he has a right to exist. He has a right. It's valuable for him to experience these things. There's no reason he ought not to. Because he was a kid, he couldn't do that, Now, there's another piece, and no one ever talks about it, but the real truth is there's things called, sometimes they call them human givens, but it's things that we all kind of need to function. Everyone has a slightly different list, but it's pretty much the same. You don't need all of them, and a lot of people don't have all of them, but sometimes you need a partner, a friend, a job, a purpose, some sort of status, sense of belonging, perhaps privacy, the ability to view a future, maybe some moral or spiritual framework. And if you don't have like 3 of those, you will just cave in. You'll make no progress, and you need that. So you have a lot of people, they have no friends, not really, you know. They don't have a place in society. They have no purpose at all. Maybe they have a job, maybe. If it is, it's probably one they really don't like. They have no sense of accomplishment. They have no sense of well-being from other people. They're not seen or appreciated by other people. And without that, and those are social issues, you know. So a lot of times if you do go see a shrink, they're only going to see you once, you know, like if you go to the mental ward, they always have like the 3 questions, you know, and they're just like, hey, do you have a job? Do you have any friends? What do you do for fun? If you can answer those 3, you're probably not going to kill yourself that night. You're stable enough. You got enough resources. You know, you might need help, but not immediately emergency. If you can't even answer those 3, it's like, oof, this guy's kind of in danger, you know. But also just wanted to talk about the extreme alienation that avoidants kind of go through, and people just don't understand. So they've told me, like sitting there, smiling at the table, and people talk about going on vacation and their families and what their kids graduating from high school and the job and this, that, the other thing, and they're saying they're barely feeling human, you know. And they're like, because I have an inability to love. But yeah, go on about your vacation. I'd like to hear more about that. Did you get a new fireplace? That's wonderful. I haven't been touched in 10 years. But no, go on. I mean, the extreme alienation is just compounded. Again, these are extreme towards one end, but they can change. They can change. And what I do is the ideal parent figure protocol. It's the best for attachment. I mentioned it. You imagine parents come in, but it's somatic. You don't just imagine it. You feel it. You know, like, oh, you know, it's good to do with someone, so I'll put them in there and say, like, oh, and notice the ideal mother or father looking at you and just cherishing you, and feel that in your body. And the funny thing is I'll say, so how does that feel? They'll be in the meditation. Every avoidance says the same thing. Good. That's it. There's one emotion. And it's not just one, all of them. I'm like, oh, how does the good feel? You know, it feels good. Good feels good. You know, it's not, I feel warmth, I feel loved, I feel seen. Oh, I feel a spreading in my body. I feel safe. You know, no, they never feel that. It's just good. But that's just beginning. Then you get more familiar, and then all of a sudden you do get the sensations in your body and becomes more embodied. So if you are an avoidant, that's one of the things, somatic exercises, meditations in general, any kind of yoga, any kind of body movements, you know, even just taking a walk, exercises, getting in touch with it. And of course, avoidants want to do everything by themselves. Like, they don't want to work with another person. I mean, that's just not the avoidant style, you know. But there is help, and there's different things you can do. I just want to use this to talk about the extremes where it can go through, because I feel for these guys. I mean, like, no one sees them. No one knows what's going inside. And they look normal, like, yeah, how you doing, you know? And inside they're dying, because it feels like you're dying. Humans are relational. Some people say being is communion. To be a human is to be in communion. Unless you're in communion, the less you feel you exist. And it's terrible feeling like, you know, I barely even exist, you know. I mean, that what we really want, I know everyone says, you want happiness, no. You want life. You want to really feel life. People who kill themselves, they're running away from death. They feel like death. They feel it's like a living death, and they're trying to get away from that. You know, they're trying to save themselves, you know. Of course, we want to feel full of life, more in touch with things. And Ideal Parent Protocol is great for that. So that's about it, though. I appreciate you guys listening to me. If you have any ideas, or if this kind of hits you, and you relate to it, or you have any ideas, you know, please let me know. But actually, it's Jonathan McCormick at attachmenthealinghelp.com. Thank you.